I'm Don West, and today I'm selling you professional wrestling history. The NWA presents TNA, total non-stop action. And on June 19th, the NWA World Heavyweight Championship will be decided in a 20-man, Gauntlet for the Gold match. Former world champion, Jeff Jarrett, the world's most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock, the one and only Scott Hall. It's only $9.95. $9.95. We're talking TNA, June 19th, exclusively on pay-per-view, total non-stop action. Wednesdays will never be the same.
Folks, it is time for episode 2 of the Squared Circle Time Machine. I'm Greg, and across from me in the Skype line is Dane. Dane, how you doing? We're recording this on a Saturday. We're one day away from the Super Bowl, and the Royal Rumble has just passed. So, Dane, what do you think of the Rumble?
You know, it was actually a pretty decent Rumble. This was the first Rumble I've actually watched live since 2016, where we had both the not surprising open secret of the debut of AJ Styles, which I still was very excited about at that time. And that was the Rumble where, for the second time in history, the WWE title was held in abeyance and was going to be presented to the winner of the Rumble, which, of course, went to future Hall of Famer, going to be two-time Hall of Famer, Triple H.
That's right. I forgot he's technically in the Hall of Fame as a member of DX.
Yes. And now we'll be going into the solo act this year.
Trying to think what other future two-time Hall of Famers are there, other than probably Roman and Seth.
Well, that's a good question. Probably Roman and Seth will be in there as as members of the Shield and solo act. Or maybe, for all we know, we can even get main event Jey Uso in there too.
Jey Uso. Yeah, he could be a two-time Hall of Famer one day too.
Yeah.
So we have 3 on the roster right now. So it'd be Seth, Roman, and Jey.
Yeah.
That's pretty damn good 3. But I will say, I kind of expected Charlotte was going to win the Rumble for the women's side, but the men's side, I was like, I didn't expect that it was going to be Jey. I thought Cena was going to win it, but I am happy with the choice.
We kind of got the final 2 there, like Cena and Jey Uso, like, well, probably going to go with the more predictable Cena's going to win it, but you know what? I was pleasantly surprised with Jey, and you know what? I'm seeing the crowd reaction to him, and just even him coming out, even just watching Jey, I'm getting flashbacks of like 97, 98 DDP, where he was just insanely over with the crowd and needed something. Hopefully we get that at WrestleMania with whatever title Jey decides to go after.
I expect he's going to go after Gunther.
That's what I'm expecting to. Maybe, for all we know, we'll get the replay of last year where Jey decides to graciously give up his spot to Dwayne.
Oh, God, no. I don't want to see. Well, it'd be well within his gimmick if he decided to do that shit again.
Yeah. Moana 2 wasn't so good. Bob Iger is giving me... We need to be put over Moana live action, so I think I need not just the people's title, I need the actual title too.
That people's title is like the stupidest freaking title he has around. It's like, is he supposed to like actually think that he's actually like the real people's champion? Does he actually think he's defending the title?
That almost like, you know, the idea that's where you see like all the fans there that have their own title. It's like, okay, if I challenge you for the title in the crowd and I beat you, do I get your title now?
Yeah, that's the question I want to know. If someone challenges Dwayne and they win the match, do they win the title too?
Do they become the new people's champion?
Is it like the $1 million belt? You see, if Virgil was still with us, we could have had Dwayne against Virgil for the People's Championship.
Yeah, we could have had the merging of the belts. We could have had the $1 million People's Champion.
And the winner gets all the unlimited breadsticks to Olive Garden.
Of course.
And it would have been great.
Yeah.
And Cody and Kevin, I will say that was really a hell of a match.
The ending spot there, such a 2K thing, just where Kevin just took the final bump and just stayed there, and Cody just looked up the ladder.
And now I have a question. What the hell are they doing with this Sammy feud? I'm guessing Kevin and Sammy are going to face each other at Mania.
Yeah, even though I think it wasn't a Battleground 2016 where they had said, never again are Sammy and Kevin going to face each other one-on-one. But
yeah, sure.
Yeah. That's one of the few things you don't do in wrestling is never say never. Because for all we know, in 2027, we'll probably have like Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan and fighting some.
Oh, God.
Injury.
And I think it's going to be Roman, Seth, and Punk in a triple threat, probably.
I'm guessing, yeah, that's pretty much what that segment in the Rumble is pretty much pointing towards. Although I'm thinking, yeah, because we already got Punk qualified for Elimination Chamber against the Invisible Man, and as of yesterday, Drew McIntyre. So it'd be interesting to have I'm guessing probably Seth is going to get in there somehow too, and then so we got already two people who don't care too much for Punk in the chamber, so that's going to be already interesting build up.
And Drew is now on SmackDown.
Yes.
So who's he going to face at Mania?
Ooh. Yeah, because I don't see anyone else on, unless we get some kind of alliance to eliminate Roman cross-promotional thing with Drew, Seth, and I don't know who else we can put in there, but those two definitely would be part of that kind of movement.
We'll have enough to talk about when we get closer to WrestleMania.
Of course.
But tonight, we are going to be talking about the first ever TNA pay-per-view from 2002. And Dane, back in 2002, we just had WWE after WCW and ECW folded. So we needed a new number 2.
And it was a number 2, all right.
Okay, so Jeff Jarrett came up with this wacky idea with, I think it was like him and Bob Ryder came up with the idea of this. Like, how about instead of trying to get a cable deal and starting a company, how about we just go straight ahead and have our show air on pay-per-view once a week?
And that too wasn't even that much of an original idea, because I think Vince was thinking of doing that too back in the early 90s, which of course, where we got in 91, we got the famous This Tuesday in Texas.
Yes.
It's supposed to be kind of a launching point of doing smaller and cheaper weekly pay-per-views in between the big shows. I'm guessing between the buy rates and even just the overall crowd. I think Vince decided, that ain't gonna work, pal.
So in June of 2002, we had the first NWA-TNA pay-per-view. Now, Dane, when I first heard about this idea for NWA-TNA, this concept, I thought, this is weird. Like, I'm glad to see the NWA name back, but okay, this is just a weird concept. So it's going to be a pay-per-view every week, and there's no, like, free TV to watch. I mean, they would have Explosion later, but it's like, who the hell knew when Explosion was anywhere and everywhere? In fact, last week, Dane, I found out that here in the New York area, Explosion around 2003 aired on what was the MSG Metro channels here. And I only found out about this last week because I found a YouTube channel that was airing some of the old Explosions that had like the Metro Chiron on. And I was like, that can't be MSG Metro in 2003. And then it turned out I was looking at the commercial break and damn it, it was. And I'm like, what the hell? I live here and nobody ever told me, or I never knew Explosion aired here.
I don't think we even got Explosion here in Canada. Like, none of the major sporting networks here carried it. Like, at the time, TSN was still showing WWE Raw, and we discussed before, the Score had SmackDown, and I think even Rogers Sportsnet at the time, I think they still used to show, like, they actually had, like, I think they actually had Velocity on for a bit when Velocity was a thing.
Yeah, Velocity. I have a lot of great memories. We could do an entire episode about Velocity.
Yeah.
And Confidential. Those were great Saturday nights.
Yes. But yeah, like I don't even think I knew anything about Explosion until the Fight Network actually started showing older Explosion episodes. So that was the most I ever got any exposure to Explosion. But yeah, even just the concept of weekly pay-per-views, and I think when you showed me that Dawn West ad there on $10, I mean that's $40 a month. And it's like, is someone gonna really spend $40 for, I guess, for 8 hours of live TV? I don't even think like pay channels like HBO or whatever would probably even cost that much.
Well, I remember Jeff Jarrett discussing this concept, like when he was on Live Audio Wrestling about it. And he explained it as like, well, it's $9.99 a week, but you're getting like more hours of wrestling than you would if you paid for a WWE pay-per-view. So I figured, okay, 3 hours of wrestling for WWE and same price, you get like probably 8 or 9 hours of wrestling if you pay $9.99 a week for the entire month. I guess I can see the value of it.
Yeah. Well, that's some weird ass marketing math that probably also would think that they would try with the WWE network back when they were still offering between calling your cable company to pay $50-$60 for the HD version of the pay-per-views, or you could spend $10 a month to watch it on the network for free for that price, for $10 a month.
Yeah, I don't know why people were so pissed about that. I'm like, yeah, I'm paying $10 a month. This is worth it. I don't know what you losers are crying about. The first NWA-TNA pay-per-view. And you want to know something, Dane? Even if I could order this, I couldn't, because in the early NWA-TNA pay-per-views in 2002, my local cable operator, Cablevision, didn't carry them.
Yeah. I think for some reason, I don't remember, because I think at the time, I know Bell's satellite system here in Canada was carrying them because my parents had a hacked receiver, so they were able to get all the pay-per-view channels and stuff like that. So I remember watching a few of them. That actually kind of reminds me of a quick story that back in, I think, 2001 when ECW had their very last pay-per-view, I think Scott Keith was saying that he had an issue with it, and he called his cable provider, which was Shaw, and I think he said he was the only person in Edmonton that had ordered that particular pay-per-view.
In the entire province of Alberta.
In the entire province of Alberta, that he was one of the only. So that just shows, I guess, how much of an interest ECW had in Canada, or at least Alberta. So
Scott Keith was the one fan of ECW in early 2001.
Yeah.
Amazing. So we are in Huntsville, Alabama at the Von Braun Center on June 19th of 2002. Now, Dane, I don't know if you've ever seen the History of TNA Year 1 documentary.
No, I've heard snippets of it, so.
Well, you're not going to believe this, but before the match, they had a dark match, and You know who was in the dark match, Dane?
I think I remembered you telling me about this, and it was my boy, Cheeks.
Cheeks. Now, Dane, do you want to describe to our audience who Cheeks was?
Cheeks was like probably about 400 to 500 pound black man, and he got blown up within 30 seconds of his debut match. I remembered.
He broke the ring before the first show. So the reason they have this overlong first segment is because they're trying to fix the ring for it to get ready. Because for those that don't know, they had this show live, pal, and then they taped the second pay-per-view immediately after the first pay-per-view.
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask that because that's like, was each show live, or did they do like a kind of how they used to do with Raw back where it was they did the live and they did a taping the next day or whatever?
Yeah, well, I do know they did the first show live, the second one taped. I don't know what they did after that. So I don't know if they had the third pay-per-view in Alabama, because I know eventually, as it goes on, they eventually moved to Nashville and the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
We have our opening segment. You know who the first ever voice is for TNA when we see coming into the ramp?
Ooh.
Don West.
Yes, good old Don West.
In a nice Hawaiian shirt. Now, Dane, you probably knew nothing about Don West before TNA, right?
No, I didn't.
Well, Don West was legendary in the 90s because he was the pitch man for the Shop at Home network. It was kind of like a home shopping club / QVC that would air on like low-powered independent stations, usually at like midnight or like at 2 a.m. or whatever. And you'd usually see Don West showing out baseball cards. And he'd be like telling you to buy like packs and packs of like 1987 tops, going like, you gotta get your Mark McGuire rookie cards. He was always like a highlight whenever he would try to buy you like mountains and mountains of junk wax, trying to convince you like you'd be rich off it one day, when in reality it's like, no, you're not going to get rich off of this. We have him announcing on the first show with Mike Tenay, but we have a third guy in the crew for these early TNA pay-per-views, and that would be the former WWE and WCW writer Ed Ferrara, who's looking like a reject from Battlefield Earth.
Yes. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I was thinking, yeah, I called him like, the fact that he came out in dreadlocks and all white, I almost thought he was like a cross between Waylon Mercy and Bray Wyatt. Or I also thought about Vic Grimes as well too, and his one-shot deal in the WWF as Key.
I don't even remember this.
He was associated with Draws and Prince Albert, and I think it was a Sunday Night Heat episode. Was his only one match, and he was supposed to be the drug dealer for Draws and Prince Albert, and probably also the one who gave Draws the drugs to give to Hawk.
Oh yeah, long-term storytelling.
Yes. So if anyone thinks that Paul Levesque invented long-term storytelling, you are wrong. It was Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara back in 98, 99.
Bro. Oh, speaking of Vince Russo, I think he like wrote maybe or had like some kind of helping hand with Jarrett on the first show or two, because I think that like there was a very, very, very brief stint where he came back to the WWF for like a weekend in 2002, and then he got fired again.
Yeah.
Because I remember that being like a big deal, like, well, WWE has rehired Vince Russo, and everyone on the internet went nuts. And then like 3 days later, it's like, oh, he got fired.
Oh, he probably had some of his various pitches that he had before. And Vince McMahon was like, "Ugh, not doing this shit again, pal."
So we have Mike Tenay It was great to see Mike TNA back.
I always thought he was like an underrated commentator when he was on WCW there.
Because he was like the third guy next to Tony and Bobby on Nitro.
Yeah. And he was like the one that actually, knew moves and knew the wrestlers. And Tony and Bobby were both just kind of there taking the checks, I guess.
Have you ever seen there's this one AWA on ESPN show from the Showboat with like him and Dave are in the audience and holding like some Japanese wrestler's pose. I forget who it is, but they're both going absolutely apeshit for this one guy. And I'm like, yep, that is probably what Mike TNA and Dave Meltzer were probably in the 80s.
Yeah.
And then we get our sweet Jeremy Borash in the ring announcing this show, doing the ring introductions with his sweet ass frosted tips.
Yeah.
Jeremy would have been best known for doing the WCW internet show, WCW Live, I think.
Yeah.
I don't even remember him being on camera.
I think I remember just briefly. I think he was on camera like once Russo became an on-camera character as well too in WCW as kind of late 2000, I think, that he was his protege or something. I don't remember, but God, you know what? God bless Jeremy Borash, because he would become later on the glue that held TNA together, I think.
And now he's backstage at WWE, so
yeah, he produced that fantastic Rick Mello promo from last year where we had the kind of like the tier sports build again with different wrestlers giving their opinion on who would win between Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes for their blow off at Stand and Deliver.
I love the Trick segment where he was running up the Rocky steps.
Yeah.
That was awesome. And I forgot. Jeremy also did that great segment with Matt Hardy and Bray. Remember that?
Yes.
Mower of lawn. But okay, now we have the introduction of all the vintage NWA legends. Like we got Harley, we got Dory Funk Jr., we got Jackie Fargo, Memphis legend.
Yes.
Bullet Bob Armstrong, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat has the NWA title. And he's going to be the guest referee for the final. Because I got to explain this. Okay. So what they're doing is they're going to do a gauntlet for the gold. So the gauntlet for the gold is basically a Royal Rumble with 20 men. And the way it works is it goes until there's 2 people left in the ring. And then the 2 people left in the ring per NWA rules have to have a one-on-one match. And the winner of the one-on-one match becomes the NWA champ.
And we're sure that Vince Russo didn't just have more than a helping hand in this match, because that almost sounds like a Russo convoluted gimmick.
Possibly.
Yeah.
If this was a Russo gimmick, though, it would involve, like, a pole would be involved or something.
A pole, or it would have been... He did that once in TNA with a reverse battle royal where it was the first 2 people that got into the ring.
Oh, yeah, the reverse battle royal. We could do an entire show about that.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. Mike TNA mentions with Jackie Fargo that he's a Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Famer, and Ed Furrow was like, what's that?
What's that? Oh, God. That's probably now the 3rd sickest burn towards the Observer we've had. Number 1, of course, being the famous from World War III, 95. You had Hogan. 95, yes, okay. We had Hogan, Savage, and Sting. Hogan declaring that the dark side Hogan is now dead, and he's back to the red and yellow. And then, what's that you got there, Ho? This is what we call a dirt sheet, brother.
Observe this, brother.
And then, of course, now we also have from this past week's Royal Rumble where we had the surprising return of Alexa Bliss, where I thought she wasn't coming back. The internet said she wasn't coming back.
And Wade saying, "Don't believe everything you see in the dirt sheets."
Yeah. Oh, God bless the dirt sheet writers.
Man, who can we trust in these wrestling times in 2025?
Yes.
If they can't accurately report on Alexa Bliss's contract.
Mm-hmm.
But Ricky the Dragon Stevo, he talks about how winning the NWA championship is kind of like winning the World Series or the Super Bowl. And I'm like, Ricky, I got some bad news for you. In 20 years, a serial sexual harasser is going to be holding that championship. So,
and 8 years before that, Ricky, your former tag team partner would double cross the NWA and actually would badmouth you and all those other legends there and tell you all to kiss my ass.
Who's coming out but Double J, Jeff Jarrett, and we get the first ever playing of "My World, My World, My World."
I've been kind of confused with the later lyrics in the second verse where it kind of got sent, where it got that weird edit out, because it was originally "He ain't dead, he ain't the Rock," and then it got edited out. The Rock part got edited to "He ain't dead, he's Jarrett." I mean, what does that even? What did that even mean? Like,
I don't know.
And I'm guessing it was obviously "He ain't the Rock" was a slap at the Rock, but "He ain't dead" was that a dig at the Undertaker? But I don't even think at the time Taker was doing the whole dead man thing. He was still Booger Red, American badass. Yeah.
Jeff has something to say to Ricky Steamboat. Did you win your title in a battle royal? Like how Mike Tenay's like, no, he beat Ric Flair.
Yeah.
Like, Harley Race, did you win your title in a battle royal? No. I don't think Jeff understands the rules. It's you don't win a battle royal and get the title. It's the last two men win, and then they get a title match.
Yeah. So if you're lucky enough to be last two men standing, you get your one-on-one title match, Jarrett. So,
by the way, I also love that Dory Funk is wearing a hat that has his website on it. www.dory-funk.com. If that's not the most 2002 hat that's ever 2002'd.
Yes. But of course, we would have another well-placed website advertising later on, we'll see.
Yes. But then Jackie Fargo. Oh, this is so great. Jackie Fargo is talking shit to Jeff Jarrett. This is probably like one of the only times we'll ever talk about Jackie Fargo on this podcast.
Yeah.
For those who don't know Jackie Fargo, Memphis wrestling legend, he was the original king of Memphis, and I think Jerry Lawler infamously beat him when he was like coming up. And then he sarcastically said after he beat him, "I'm the new king of Memphis," which is why he had the king gimmick.
Yeah.
And Jackie Fargo was known as the Fabulous One, which is why the famous tag team of Stan Lane and Steve Curran were later called the Fabulous Ones, because he gave them his blessing to reuse the name.
And of course, we can't forget that he also did the Fargo strut, which I think a lot of people misidentify as the Flair strut.
Yeah, and he does the famous Fargo strut too, which is awesome. Yeah. But he says, "Jeff, I'm going to make you the first entrant in the gauntlet for the gold." So Jeff has to beat 19 other men and try to hope to be the last two in to have that one-on-one match for the title.
Yes.
But then here comes Ken Shamrock.
And his sideburns.
Oh, his sweet-ass sideburns. I bet you, though, Monty Burns would be very pissed.
Yeah. And those are actual, and those look like actual sideburns, not painted on ones like how Lexus King is trying to get away with in NXT.
So Ken is like, "Yeah, Jeff, I agree. This battle royal sucks. But you know what? I'm going to rip your ass. You're a babyface. Why would you say that?"
Already we have the two, probably the most eligible people to probably win the thing, and they're already trashing the main events.
Well, now we have the third most eligible person that probably could win the thing in the bad guy, Scott Hall, because Scott had been released by WWE a month earlier. after the plane
yes.
ride from hell.
And of course, it was like thinking too, like maybe a person with alcohol issues shouldn't have had a feud with a guy whose main gimmick at the time was also drinking beer and then dumping beer on his opponents afterwards, and Steve Austin.
But I gotta love that Scott Hall comes out wearing a T-shirt for a strip club in Michigan called the Landing Strip. And I'll read what it says on the shirt. First class entertainment by Michigan's most beautiful women. I wonder if Kevin Nash took him to there, because he is a Michigan resident.
That is a good possibility that they had been there.
So Scott says, hey, yo, guys, I agree about the Battle Royal. It sucks. But one thing is we're going to do it tonight, so quit crying about it. Yeah, I agree. Just quit crying about it.
Yeah.
We have our gauntlet for the gold ready. And then we go backstage with Goldilocks interviewing Puppet the Psycho Dwarf. He's a little person.
Yes. Oh, I hope we get to another. If we ever do some more of this, I hope we get to his more infamous moment in TNA.
Oh, God, yes. I don't understand. It's like they had a little person division. I guess they were like ahead of their time, like years before, like Palmer Konnan introduced the minis division in SmackDown.
Yes, the minis. Yeah. And of course, I think isn't there also like some kind of reality series on TLC called Micro Wrestling, or Micro Championship Wrestling, which is just a entire show devoted to little people wrestling.
Oh man, I didn't know about this. Hold on a second. Micro Championship Wrestling. When you say Micro Championship Wrestling, I think of that Micro League Wrestling game on the Commodore 64 that the WWF did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Micro Championship Wrestling. Okay, let's see. It was. I don't see a television now. Oh, this was on True TV in 2011. Yeah. And Hogan was involved in it, I guess. Oh, Pat Tanaka was a referee for Micro Championship Wrestling.
With or without a mask?
I don't know. Oh, Paul, where are you when we need you the most?
Yes.
We're going to have a Paul Scrivens What Was Wrestling Thinking moment at some point near the end of the show. So
I think, yes, we are. From what you showed in the pre-show chat.
Oh, but Jeffy's pissed. He kicks 2 music stands about the fact he has to wrestle in a battle royal. It's like, Jeff, get over yourself.
Get over it. You're number one, but you just got to outlast at least 18 other people.
Yes. And then we get the Cage Girls.
Oh, God. I remember it's...
I guess this is supposed to put the TNA in TNA, but this is not turning me on.
No, it isn't. It's a confusing. It's a totally confusing. Like, we have Mike Tenay here talking. We're bringing back the tradition of wrestling, and then all of a sudden you got cages there that look like they came from. They're leftovers from Quark's bar on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and you got then these dancers from the local Alabama gentlemen's club, and it's like,
oh, when you mentioned Deep Space Nine, Dane, I thought you were going to also sneak in a reference to like that scene in Star Trek V on Nimbus 3, the Planet of Galactic Peace, of that cat stripper lady.
Oh God, yes. No, that's such a confusing. Yeah, like I said, it's a confusing concept of what they're trying to do here. And overall, it's like they're trying to give an alternative to the WWF, which has pretty much won and spot out its own competition, and the wrestling scene in North America at the time was just a wasteland. And all of a sudden, here comes the NWA trying to resurrect itself, and here we go. we respect tradition, but yet we're throwing in elements of the stuff that we supposedly don't want.
Well, now it's time for the first ever match in TNA. And we have a 6-man tag. We got AJ Styles, Jerry Lynn, and Loki taking on the Flying Elvises of Jimmy Yang, Jorge Estrada, and Sonny Siaki.
Oh, yes. I think the best part about this match, I think when the Flying Elvises are coming out, they do a quick cutscene back to the backstage where you have all the legends gathered around like this little TV monitor, and they're all looking disgusted and ashamed that there's these Flying Elvis impersonators coming out.
Oh, I can only imagine Bullet Bob Armstrong reacting to the Flying Elvises.
We didn't need no Elvis impersonators back in my day. All of a sudden, you probably have somewhere else in Memphis, you got Honky Tonk Man smashing a guitar over the TV.
But I will say, this is the first TNA match for AJ Styles. And of course, AJ would be for the first 12 years, be the anchor of this company.
Yes, he's one of the, as they would call it, he was an original.
So next week, AJ, Loki, and Jerry Lynn are going to be involved in a 4-way match for the X Division Championship to crown the first ever X Division Championship. I forget who the 4th guy was in that match.
I would have to. I remember seeing something, but I don't remember who it was when I looked up, because I had to look up on Pro Wrestling Wiki about another segment here that we'll talk about.
Oh,
But
Psychosis.
Okay, yes. Okay, yeah. I think I remembered seeing it was who we will see later on in this show as well, too.
Yes. I think AJ would have been briefly in WCW as part of Air Raid with, was it Air Paris?
Yes, I think it was Air. Yes, I believe it was Air Paris and AJ Styles as Air Raid. And then I think he did more work with NWA Wildside, which I think Mike Tenay name drops.
Yes, NWA Wildside at this time, it was like this cult thing. It was like that and OVW. It was like, if you're in the know, if you're like really into this wrestling, you got to watch either OVW or NWA Wildside.
Yeah.
That's where it's at. NWA Wildside's kind of like what, I don't know, like TNA in 2025 is now.
Yeah. And OVW is pretty much what NXT is today, the developmental promotion for the WWE.
In the first ever TNA match, you'd think, okay, to get them ready for next week, okay, AJ, Jerry, and Loki, they're going to get the win here. And no, the Elvises win.
Yeah.
And AJ just...
and AJ takes the pin, too.
I watched this match. I was like shocked. I was like, AJ took the pin here? Did they really like, oh, we got to book these Flying Elvises strong?
They need to rub more than the young boy and grizzled veteran Jerry Lynn and grumpy old Loki.
Okay, let me just see what Scott gave this, because I have his rating up here. Scott gave this 3.5 stars. And on Cage Match, they have Dave's rating for this match. It was 3.75 stars. Yeah. I don't know. I would go with Scott's rating. I think that
I mean, everyone got their spots in, and it just was bizarre having again, Mike Tenay talking about tradition, and lol, the Flying Elvises win.
Now let's go into our second match. We have a little person match here between Hollywood and Teo. Now, I'm going to read Scott's review here for this match. Puppet the Dwarf has already promised to do a run-in earlier, but sadly doesn't keep his word. They trade chops, and Teo gets a mule kick in the corner, but Hollywood gets out a sit-out slam for 2. Teo with a leg sweep, and he goes up with a senton to finish at 245.
Yeah, that was 245 I wanted back.
We don't get a puppet run-in. What a rip.
Yeah, I mean, you have a puppet there saying that he hates all the other little people and he's going to ruin their lives, and he does nothing.
No. You know who the real star of this match was? Scott Armstrong.
Referee Scott Armstrong. Yes.
Yep. Good old Scott.
Yeah.
Now we have a preview by Ed for the Miss TNA. Was it Lingerie Battle Royal that they're advertising for next week?
Yes, they were advertising that. Both Ed and Don were in the ring for their spot.
Okay, do we have a list of who all the participants are for this?
The only ones I recognize, again, I had to recognize right off the bat, was Francine and the Electra and the young future Mrs. Nicholas Aldis in Mickey James, still going by her indie name of Alexis Larry.
Yes.
And apparently, and which again, I think I'm excited to read the next week's show from Pro Wrestling Wiki that had the results of that Taylor Vaughn would win this battle royal. She was formerly in the WWF as Barbara Bush, also known
BB
as
Bush.
BB.
Yes.
Yes.
I forgot about BB Bush.
Yes, the hot EMT that show that would be inexplicably being shown and pushed.
Okay, Daphne was in this.
Oh yes, I forgot. Yeah, she was
going by Shannon.
Yeah.
Of course, this was way before she would be the fake Sarah Palin in TNA later on. Remember when she was the governor? They just called her the governor. Like, we're supposed to know who this is.
I guess they probably would have gotten some kind of lawsuit or cease and desist order thrown by the Palin office if they had actually mentioned her by actual name, but
oh, Daphne's got like some kind of a wand with her.
Yeah.
I don't know why. But Francine, she starts a bunch of crap, I guess, about something.
Yep. And then her and Electra get into it, and the cat fight.
Yeah, but we don't even have Joey screaming cat fight.
No.
So what's the point?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the less said about that, the better. Yeah. All right, now let's get back to Goldilocks, because she's going to be introducing a new manager by the name of Mortimer Plumtree. And he's he's like a Harvard guy, his gimmick, and like he's got a paddle. And I guess he's like pissed at everybody who's made fun of him. And now he's like, you were mean to me. Now I'm going to be mean. It's like, okay, now Dane, do you remember the one segment of the Tom Green show back in the day where like he found like this bowling trophy for like honoring some guy called the Champ, and he wanted to give the bowling trophy back to him, and then he like didn't want the trophy back, and so Tom Green's like trying to be like, you were the champ, but then you became mean, so now I've become mean, and now you're gonna see why I'm the champ. That's what he basically is in this promo.
Yes. Yeah, and then look-wise, he would have fit in actually with in the 2000 Stampede Wrestling. We had ourselves a little stable of evil prep school students, and group leader was their evil principal, Richard Pound, and also another.
Wait, hold on. What was his name?
Richard Pound, which also known by Bruce's Twisted Warped Mind. Could have also been a dig at, because there is a former Canadian Olympic official named Dick Pound who also became the head of the...
Did the drug testing for the IOC.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, man. I wonder if the West Edmonton Mauler was feuding with that stable.
No, but he did have a match with a very young Harry Smith, which involved both his mom Diana and Auntie Ellie getting involved and being saved by Daddy Davey Boy Smith. And of course, this is 99-2000. Where's my title shot, Davey Smith? Coming in to save the day.
Where's my title shot?
Where's my title shot? I'll go back to Stampede and get my title shot there.
Meanwhile, somewhere across the pond, Dynamite Kids say, You're not human, Davy Boy Smith. You're not human.
You're not human. You're a test tube baby.
For those who don't know, go YouTube search Dynamite Kid Davy Boy Smith Test Tube Baby promo. I think you introduced me to that promo.
Yes,
Dave.
I did, because and then be prepared to be blinded by J.R. Foley's laser and be amazed at Ed Whalen's mustache.
My favorite part is when Ed Whalen says to J.R. Foley, "That's a lovely coat. Where'd you get that from? Bozo the Clown." Okay, but Mortimer Plumtree is going to introduce his new tag team. And
on quite the team they are, as we'll talk about.
Okay, the tag team is made up of two brothers named Richard and Rod Johnson.
Okay, so I can see where this is going.
And they are dressed like, I can't even say. If this was the other show, we would have Charles Robinson at this point say,
That's a penis.
but that's two penises. They're in flesh-colored suits.
Flesh-colored, looking like giant flesh-colored Michelin men.
They do look like flesh-colored Michelin men. Okay, now it's this point where I gotta mention, when you look into the wrestlers coming into ringside, now there's two people I want to mention at ringside. There's one fan in a cowboy hat wearing a Las Vegas Outlaws replica jersey.
Of all the teams from the XFL to have, that would be the one to wear. Hopefully it was the He Hate Me one, because that would make, because I think he was the only one that had any marketability in XFL.
Well, him and Tommy Maddox, but unfortunately it's just a generic number one jersey.
Generic. Well, that's a shame.
But there's a fan next to him in a blue shirt, and he's holding a sign for a website called ObserverLiveChat.com, which has Dave and Brian Alvarez's face on them. Now, I need to explain what ObserverLiveChat.com is. Now, you see, back in the day, before Brian Alvarez founded F4W Online in 2005, and this was also in the days when Dave's website was being hosted by whatever Canadian web server was hosting the Law's website at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
ObserverLiveChat.com was where you would go to find like all the old Wrestling Observer Live IATA shows back in the day.
Yes, so if you want to relive those glorious moments from James from Kentucky asking questions about the Blue the Butcher or the pot banger showing up, though, that would be your place, I guess.
Or the let me just see. I'm trying to remember. The show where Dave said, "Oh my God, we forgot about Konnan." I just love how it randomly came up. It's like, "Oh my God, we forgot about Konnan." And so, who are the Johnsons wrestling? Well, they're wrestling Psychosis and some guy by the name of Cowboy James Storm.
Cowboy James Storm and Psychosis. They're the original odd couple.
I mean, James Storm would be just like a new guy on the scene. It's like, unless you were like in the indies or whatever, it's just
indies,
like
unless you're like a really niche person. I think he might have been a product of NWA Wildside too.
Yeah, because I think him and Chris Harris, like a couple of weeks before this, had like a tryout match. Yeah. And supposedly they did like very well, and that impressed the people at TNA, and they were like, "Oh, we got to hire these two guys." And obviously that match must have worked, because of course later on they would be the most signature tag team in the early TNA days in the Asylum.
Yep.
So we get the rating here from Scott. Let me just read the review here. The Johnsons are the often recycled Shane twins, playing two guys in flesh-colored bodysuits and named Johnson. Gee, guess who's booking this show? James Storm is so very young here, as Ferrara buries him for having a cowboy gimmick. Yeah, and who's the one still around in the business 18 years later? Dick Johnson with a pair of suplexes on Sai, but he comes back with an enziguri. Storm with a missile dropkick on Rod as the former Alicia Webb. Oh my God, yes!
Yeah, so he's got
Ryan
Ryan
Shamrock. So she comes out. I guess she's supposed to be a hooker?
I'm guessing that's what her. Yeah, I mean, I think that the only reason I want to watch more future episodes of TNA's weekly pay-per-view is just to see what are they doing with this storyline, or does she just disappear and is never heard of from again? Because yeah, that's just here she is, just standing at the ringside there, and some lucky kid decides to
Tried to pat her on the
pat her ass. Yeah.
Yeah, but apparently it's like she's trying to get money from like Slick Johnson, the referee, and Jeremy. So I guess, is Jeremy that desperate? Like he has to pay to be with a hooker?
Yeah, it's.
I mean, Jeremy's a good-looking guy for 2002. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, and I'm sure those on his fully frosted tipped hair. I'm sure he can get any girl he wants for that.
The Johnsons get the win at 5 minutes. Scott says that Johnson's made a mess all over the ring here. and the referee gives Webb some cash on the way out. This is so fucking stupid, Scott says. 1 star.
1 star is being generous because odds. I don't even think. Yeah, I mean, James Storm, he's young. Psychosis has been a veteran, and they couldn't do anything with those 2 useless dicks in the ring.
Yeah, useless dicks is right. So I'm trying to remember. The Shane twins, and didn't they go by like Gemini or something?
Yes, they came into the WWE as the Gemini, as Simon Dean's. I think I heard too that their action figure set with the Gemini was probably the least selling action figures ever for WWE at the time.
Oh, they were definitely peg warmers back in the day. I bet you somewhere at like some Walmart somewhere you can probably find like a entire rack of Shane twins figures from Jax. Okay, now we're going to go backstage to Goldilocks, where we meet the Dups.
Oh, God. Can we get the Dudley Boys? We have the Dudley Boys at home. And here we go.
Bo Dup and Stand Up.
Oh.
One of them's the future Trevor Murdoch.
Yeah, and I think he too becomes a future down the road NWA world champion.
Trying to think, is the ladies with them supposed to be like their cousin or sister?
From what I understand, she is a cousin and girlfriend to both of them.
Incest!
Yes.
Okay, so her name is Fluff Dump.
As you know, as much as I cringe at punny names in wrestling, I love those names though. The rest of the gimmick, not so much, but the names, that's...
All right, so now we go to Jeremy. We got our segment. So we have NASCAR drivers Herbie Sadler and Sterling Martin here for some reason.
Oh, here we are, like I said, and we're really aiming for that southern demographic here, I guess. Someone who doesn't really follow racing cars at all, or this went over my head, this whole segment, so.
Well, you weren't playing NASCAR Thunder 2003 on the Xbox like me back in the day.
No, I obviously wasn't.
That was a fun game, NASCAR Thunder. But here to save this segment is the former K-Quick, who's now going by K-Crush. But later on, Dane, we would have another name change for this man.
Mm-hmm.
Ron the Truth Killings.
Yes.
And really, when you think about it, Dane, this is kind of the beginning of like a 23-year-long thing for R-Truth, because I mean, I remember him like in his first in WWF with like Road Dogg, and that was not really that memorable.
At that time, it was, I think, I remember reading back in, or would hear later on, that I guess somewhere in that time, Jim Ross told him that unfortunately, your kind can't make it to the very top of this business. Which seemed like a very un-JR thing to say, but yeah.
I guess that's what it was referencing here in this promo.
Yep.
Because who comes out to make the babyface save but Brian Christopher?
All hopped up on goofballs.
Still in his Grandmaster Sexay gimmick.
Yeah. And I think even Mike, they even name dropped, even called him Brian Lawler yet, which was unusual because I know that they tried to differentiate him away from being Jerry's kid. So it's like that all of a sudden he's now using Lawler's last name, or at least here in NWA-TNA.
But yeah, they set up a match for the following week. So
yeah. But I think we'll see more of this build up later on.
More cage dancing. Mm-hmm. And now, okay, backstage we have Jeff Jarrett and Jackie Fargo still fighting. Jeff is still pissed that he's got to be in this battle royal. It's like
he's basically like he's got like Jackie Fargo in almost like a chokehold or something. Like he's really pissed off here. I mean, it's not like, I think it's almost like Jackie forgot to read his old T-shirt back in the WWF as "Don't piss me off."
Okay, we have York and Matthews going up against the Dupps.
Yes.
And it feels like I mean, if you've been following me on Wrestle Tracks with Scott, we did recently Massacre on 34th Street and Guilty as Charged 2001. So I feel like I've watched a lot of York and Matthews lately.
Surprised that they never got a chance in the WWF.
Well, we know that Matthews would get that run in M&M. And then, of course, Joey would go on to greater legend in WWE as one half of J&J Security with Jamie Noble.
Yep.
Okay, let me get Scott's review here. So the joke here is the Dupps are hillbillies who are dating their cousin Fluff Dump. And this is double Russo nonsense because that name is a pun. Stand up, but Bo-Dup, a.k.a. Bo-Dup, is a southern slang term that doesn't mean anything outside the limited area they were running. Yeah, I was wondering, what the hell is Bo-Dup supposed to be a pun?
It's one of those weird southern slang things.
And apparently Scott didn't realize that stand-up is Trevor Murdoch, and he didn't even realize it until he looked it up for this review.
Yeah.
Okay. The Faces get a double suplex on Stan for 2, but he comes back with a full Nelson slam on Matthews. Bo-Dup comes in. He's no one, by the way, in parentheses. Comes in with a big boot and a splash for 2. Stan tries a backslide and gets cut off with a neckbreaker, and York gets a hot tag and cleans house on the Dupps. Senton on Bo gets 2 as today informs us that the Senton is called the Cutting Edge. Yeah, no one cares what the name of a fucking Senton is. York goes up and Fluff trips him up and Bo gets the pin at 342. This was nothing. 1 star.
A lot better than the Johnsons versus Psychosis and James Storm, but that's not saying much.
No. Now we have our segment with our big celebrity of the night.
Big? Oh, yes.
Toby Keith is going to be singing a song about how he's
an angry American.
The angry American. Now, apparently, Dane, now this is lost 23 years later, but apparently there was like some ABC like patriotic special from Washington, D.C. where like Toby Keith was pissed because supposedly like Peter Jennings did not want him to play this song because he thought it was like very wrong to sing or something.
Okay.
So I guess this is like Toby Keith's FU is like, well, I'm going to sing it on pay-per-view then. Take that, you Canadian Peter Jennings.
Yeah.
Apparently Jeff is annoyed because apparently between getting pissed at Jackie Fargo, he's like, enough of this shit.
Well, I'm the only singer around here.
Yeah, he's the world's greatest singer.
Yeah. Well, I think I meant, yeah. Well, I don't agree with Jeff's kill Jackie Fargo policy, but I do agree with his kill Toby Keith policy here. So
yeah, well, let's show some respect to Toby. He is no longer with us, though. So
yeah,
and I think wasn't Toby supposedly in the mix with Jeff to try to buy TNA at one point?
I think so. I mean, that's even, or for all we know, he could be in the early years. Because I mean, that's maybe another reason why he's involved with this too. Was that all the money that Jeff got from holding up Vince McMahon for drop the Intercontinental title to China there wasn't necessarily going to pay itself. Be all the way to pay off TNA in the early years.
Okay, Gauntlet for the Gold. Jeff is number 1. Number 2 is Buff Bagwell.
Fresh and expired well from his infamous match against Booker T in Spokane, I think. Spokane
or Tacoma.
Tacoma, yeah, one of the smaller Washington state cities.
Thanks a lot, Washington State. You killed the invasion.
You killed the invasion, yes. Killed the invasion and killed any chances of WCW being a viable alternate brand for the WWF to tour around with.
Yeah, that's enough of a reason to hate Washington State. That and the fact that they think that Geno Smith is a capable starting NFL quarterback in 2025. Trust me from experience. Buff gets eliminated by Jeff, and the number 3 entrant, Lash LaRue.
Corporal Cajon.
Mike mentions that he's the 1998 WCW Rookie of the Year, whatever that means.
Well, we're going to hear a lot of former WCW or former WWF a lot through this Gauntlet for the Gold.
So Jeff eliminates Lash.
Yeah, and I did also notice there too that they had the countdown, a 90-second count, it was every 90 seconds a new person would come in, and I think even there the timer was off by 10-15 seconds because all of a sudden it showed 10 seconds left, but then all of a sudden there's the next opponent already.
So Jeff eliminated Lash. I'm guessing they're giving him the Diesel 94 spot here.
Yeah.
On the first show. Number 4, Norman Smiley.
Good to see him again.
Wish Ralphus was there with him.
Yeah.
Now Jeff eliminates Norman.
Ooh, do that. I think he did get out the big wiggle for a bit before Jeff lost him out, so fair play to Norman.
Number 5, Apollo. Who the fuck is Apollo?
Well, to make sure that, no, this is not Apollo Crews. This is just some guy named Apollo that's apparently he's big in Puerto Rico.
6 times IWA heavyweight champion, 4-time IWA tag team champion in Puerto Rico.
That's Puerto Rico for ya.
Puerto Rico might as well be another planet as professional wrestling goes.
Yeah.
Okay, number 6, K-Crush. And then number 7, we got Slash with Jim Mitchell. No, not Slash from Guns N' Roses. Just some guy named Slash.
Who I found out there again is apparently formerly he was Wolfie D from PG-13.
Oh. Didn't realize that.
Yeah. Except he decided to, I guess, probably somewhere in between their stints in the WWF, he decided to steal some of Triple H's human growth hormones. As he looks roided as fuck in this match.
Yeah, I don't recognize him without Jamie Dundee with him.
Yep.
Okay, our next entrant is Del Rios.
And speaking of roids...
Let me just say, Del Rios, that's what you get when you order Scott Steiner off of Wish.
And I was like, there again, I mentioned in the pre-show chat, I was today days old to realize that Del Rios was also Spellbinder and the very short-lived Fantasio in WWF.
I think some of the independent toy makers making a figure of him as Phantasmo. Yeah. That's what everyone wants. Hasbro-style figure of Phantasmo. That guy who made one appearance on Raw in 95.
Yeah.
Right, our next entrance is Justice? He's got his hands out like, yeah, it's me, I'm Justice. So it's like, huh. So apparently, according to Dane, a 9-year pro out of Cincinnati, a former NWA Wildside champion. But, what? This Justice guy, he kind of looks familiar to me.
He looks a bit, yes, he looks...
I don't know. With a name like Justice, I wonder if he knows that Joe Park Esquire guy.
Yep.
That's Abyss's brother.
Yes. Name like Justice and being associated with a lawyer, no wonder you'd have to have a crazy, be on it, always trying to defend your crazy brother.
But next to come out, Dane, we didn't forget about him. Konnan's here.
We forgot about Konnan. Nope,
yeah.
Not today.
Not today. Everyone's going nuts for Konnan. He's clotheslining people left and right. Konnan battling the future Abyss is like something I'd book in EWR or something.
Until Abyss decides to find religion and retires from the business.
Oh, that is true. I do remember how if you ran to on EWR like Larry Zbyszko has found religion and has decided to quit the business. Rob Conway's been caught with crack cocaine. I'm fucked now. How am I going to book Velocity if Rob Conway's caught with crack cocaine?
Now who can I give this Randy Newman ripoff theme to?
Just look at me. But coming out is my brother's former neighbor in Bay Ridge, Mr. Joel Gertner.
Without his trademark cervical collar, unfortunately.
No. He's going to talk about how he's going to be with the motel with the ladies. He's going to make a mess of the bed sheets. But before that, he wants to introduce us to the Rainbow Express.
Okay, this kind of confuses me. Why is female sex pest person in Joe Gertner being associated with the obviously ambiguously gay duo there?
With Lenny Lane and Kiwi? I
Yes.
don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
But Kiwi here is going by Bruce.
Apparently, Bruce was one point in time a stereotypical name in the, as AJ Styles famously called it, the gay community.
Oh, good thing AJ wasn't wrestling in this match.
Yeah.
But then our next competitor, the dog-faced gremlin, Rick Steiner. Oh, no. That means he's going to have some problems with Bruce. Oh, wait. No. It's not that kind of. Okay. Now that I think about it. Okay. I think Bruce might be good here with Rick.
Yeah.
Okay, we got some eliminations here, I think. Let me just go over here. Slash is out. I think Rick eliminates Justice. So long, Justice. I don't know whatever became of you, but...
Yep. On to bigger and better things.
Somewhere.
Find himself a 2x4 of nails in it and name it Janice.
By the way, since we didn't talk about Janice, R.I.P. Janice. Because Rosemary swung it so hard at the Genesis pay-per-view that it broke. But apparently, according to Brian, and I found this out, the reason Janice is called Janice is because that's an inside joke because Dixie Carter's mother's name is Janice.
That's a bizarre inside reference.
I think also when Abyss came up with Janice, it was also supposed to be about the whole thing with they. So it's like, I guess that's, threatening Dixie by naming the board of nails after her mother,
Okay.
I guess.
Yes. Oh,
Watched
well.
way too much 2010 TNA. You know how bad it is? I'm going back and I'm also listening to like Brian and Vinny's reviews of TNA 2010, and
Mhm.
you're not going to believe this, Dane. I'm also going back. Do you remember when Spoonie would review TNA?
Yes, I remember poor Spoonie.
Watched like his Bound for Glory 2010 review, and it's like, yeah, that pretty much says how much this whole they thing was so dumb.
Yeah.
Well, the less said about that, the better. Oh, our next
Yeah.
competitor. That's the wall, brother.
The wall! Sergeant AWOL!
If you want some, come get some. How come I'm seeing you from like 500 miles away? That's the wall up there, brother. Look at that. That means choke slam. Does that mean that all of a sudden Hogan has x-ray vision that he can see him do the choke slam signal from 500 miles away on the Sheraton roof?
Yeah. Thankfully, he got rid of that somewhat generic name and is now going by Malice.
Apparently, he's a big fan of the Alec Baldwin movie Malice.
Yes.
So he eliminates Bruce. He eliminates R-Truth. He eliminates Wish Scott Steiner.
Mm-hmm.
He eliminates K-Dog. Oh, K-Dog's gone.
Oh.
I guess we're going to forget about him then. And then Rick Steiner's out. But then he tries to eliminate, I think it's Apollo, but Apollo does a skin the cat spot.
Mm-hmm.
So our next competitor is Scott Hall. Gets a good pop.
Mm-hmm.
Gives a razor's edge to Jeff. And then our next competitor. Wait, Toby Keith? What's Toby Keith doing in the Battle Royal? Oh my God.
Year removed from the Drew Carey appearance in the Royal Rumble.
Holy shit, Toby Keith gave Jeff Jarrett a jackhammer. Take that, Goldberg.
You know what? Fair play to Jeff for taking these bumps for celebrities, because I think, didn't he take a very ridiculous clothesline bump from William Shatner one time when he was on Raw?
Yes, on Raw. I forgot about that. That was when Shat was plugging Tech War. Because according to Principal Skinner, the kids have to learn about Tech War sooner or later.
Yep.
But Scott and Toby, they eliminate Jeff from the match. And Toby, I guess he doesn't re-enter the match. He exits from the second row. So technically, he never got eliminated, I guess.
But I guess, yeah. So I guess, unfortunately, with him passing away, we will never know if he's still
in it. I guess it's
still in it. I mean,
it's not a Curtis Axel 2015 Royal Rumble situation.
No, or even current year Akira Tozawa getting clubbered out and having his spot replaced by I Show Speed.
Oh, that was such bullshit. I Show Speed getting that 300 million views, my ass. There's no freaking way that segment got 300 million views on social media.
Well, unless he's that much hated and everyone just loved to see him get speared the fuck out by Braun Breaker, so...
Did you see that there's a Tops Now card of I Show Speed at the Rumble? Yes.
Well, they'll make a card for anything these days.
Our next competitor, knock knock.
Who's there?
Braden Walker.
Yes, the future great Braden Walker. Yeah, better known by his name of Chris Harris.
The other half of AMW. But you're not going to believe this. Coming out early for a spot. Because apparently waiting was forbidden by The Undertaker, Dave.
Yeah, we're going to take over the NWA-TNA.
The mystery of life and the hereafter. It's with all of us. We're going to talk about the SmackDown pilot, like, at some point.
Yeah.
I will say this. Gangrel, when he cuts that promo, it's like Butters on South Park cutting a promo, the way he talks.
Yeah.
Okay, our next competitor is, the former Crowbar, Devon Storm.
Yes, dangerous Devon Storm he's going by now.
Yeah. And the next competitor is, the former NWA heavyweight champion, the only former NWA champion in this gauntlet for the gold, Steve Corino.
Yeah, the king of old school.
And I'm like, I don't think Corino did much in TNA, did he?
I thought he was managing one of the smaller teams before, or whatever tag team that was associated also with Chris Candido there. Like he was managing them before his
the Naturals?
Yeah, the Naturals. Yes, I think he was kind of associated with them for a bit before Carino took, or not, Candido took that spot, and of course before his untimely death.
Yeah. Oh, Ken Shamrock comes out.
And the sideburns.
Yeah, those 6 sideburns. And then the next competitor is Brian Christopher. So, okay, Gangrel and Devon Storm, they both go over. I think Devon Storm tries to charge Brian Christopher, and I think Brian pulls the top rope and he goes over. And then Gangrel tries to charge and then he goes over. So they're both out. And Brian then eliminates Corino. So Brian's getting like some shinier, but then Brian gets eliminated by Shamrock. So let's see, we down to the final 4, which is Shamrock, Scott, Apollo, and Malice.
Yeah.
So Apollo goes over, and then Scott tries to do a razor's edge on Malice, and he goes over the top of a back body drop onto the floor. So it's down to Ken and the Wall Brother as Ricky comes out, and we're going to have a match to decide the first ever NWA champion in TNA. And then we get, Dane, our what was wrestling thinking moment of the night.
Oh, yes. Those signs, yes.
All right, so 2 fans hold up some signs, and I'll say what it says. We came for Francine. Will she come for us?
Yeah.
This is still, like, when did we get out of this mindset as far as wrestling goes?
You know what? I'm probably going to think, I don't want to, this is all, I think once we have the Benoit incident, I guess, happened in 2007, and everything started getting sanitized and cleaned up.
Yeah, because I think we still have like the whole sexualization of the divas. I mean, I guess it continued somewhat after, but then I think it wasn't until like when the women's division was heating up in NXT that sort of mindset started to go away.
I think that's what. Yeah, I think it's. Yeah, I mean, you still had, because I mean, you still had like even 2004, 2005, when you had like Cyber Sunday and Taboo Tuesday pay-per-views there, where you had like fulfill your fantasy, which stereotypical sexy outfits you want our divas to wrestle in.
Do you want to see Candice Michelle in a French maid outfit? Do you?
On, pal.
Go on, pal, vote. All right, let me get the Scott review of the match here between Ken Shamrock and Malice. Shamrock slugs away on Malice, but walks into a sidelark slam that gets to Malice with a suplex or 2. He tries a choke slam, but Shamrock reverses him into an armbar. Malice makes the ropes and slugs out, but Shamrock gets the ankle lock this time, and Malice gets to the ropes. Then Shamrock pulls him back into the ankle lock again, and Malice gets to the ropes again. Shamrock goes after the leg again, but Malice goes for the choke slam, and Shamrock reverses for a belly-to-belly for the pin and the title at 37.45. That's obviously counting the gauntlet for the gold.
Yeah.
Whole thing was worth maybe 3 stars. I mean, I guess if you're setting up a first world champ for your series of pay-per-views. I guess Ken is probably the most legit guy you can do as a world heavyweight champion for the NWA.
Yeah, I mean, it's not unusual for them to go with someone. I mean, look at Shamrock's pedigree. I mean, former UFC champion, former WWF Intercontinental and Tag Team champion.
And I guess it fits because Severin would have been NWA champ years earlier, and he's an ex-UFC guy too.
Yeah. And there again, if they're serious about trying to make this about tradition, go with someone like Shamrock. But of course, then we get some more sports entertainments shenanigans, I guess, with Jarrett and Toby Keith backstage, I think.
With Jackie Fargo, yeah.
Jackie Fargo, yeah.
So, yeah, Jeff comes back out. He's like, I'm still pissed that I had to compete in a battle royal. And he points to Dory Funk like, Dory, when you won the NWA championship, did you have to do it in a battle royal? Harley, did you have to win the title in a battle royal? And then he slaps the shit out of Bob Armstrong for some reason. Why did he have to do that to Bob Armstrong? What did he ever do to anybody?
And then they set up a match for next week where it's Scott Hall versus Jeff Jarrett, I believe.
Yeah, and Toby Keith's going to be in Scott Hall's corner. As Jackie Fargo's being restrained, we see again the nice shot of the Observer Live chat sign again. And I think the guy in the Las Vegas Outlaw shirt is wearing the DoryFunk.com hat. He pulls it out at one point. Again, the most 2002 hat ever, advertising a website.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever see, like, hats advertising, like, websites with the domain name anymore.
No, I don't think so.
Especially back in the days when, like, Twitter was big. I don't think you saw handles for people's Twitter accounts on hats.
No.
Copyright 2002, J Sports and Entertainment. That wouldn't last long, that name. Because
no,
I think, trying to think, because didn't they run into money problems, TNA, at the start? Because I think their lost one out of business or something.
Yeah, then I think, because I think by that, I'm trying to think, was it 2003 when Panda Energy finally?
No, I think it was later on, like in the fall, because I think Dixie was with the company from the beginning in PR, and like they were struggling to find a buyer, and like Dixie's like, well, my dad owns an energy company, and it's like, okay, let's see if he can provide us money or something, and and the rest is history.
Yes, Dixie Carter, the female Tony Khan.
Let me just say this. In 2025, I wish we still had Dixie Carter and not Tony Khan. Because I guarantee you, for all her faults, Dixie would not stupidly lie and say, this overseas show that we're having was always a TV show. It was not a pay-per-view. It was not a special for Max. No, it was always a 2-hour B show that people had to pay $800 a ticket for.
And we were going to put it in a 50,000 seat stadium.
Oh, wait. We can't put it in the 50,000 seat stadium anymore because nobody comes there this time of year. Let's put it in an arena. Oh, yeah. And let's just give them like the women's title match with the Australian star, and we'll have this big, stupid angle where she'll pretend she has amnesia, but she was only acting about it. And we'll have the big reveal that she was only acting about it on a show that nobody's going to watch because everybody's going to be watching Saturday night's main event. Yeah. Real smart there, Tony. This is why they hired Todd Bowles as offensive coordinator in Jacksonville.
Duval.
Well, the TNA first pay-per-view from 2002.
23 years later, TNA is still going on a lot stronger than it has been.
Yeah. I mean, who would have imagined that in 23 years, their World Heavyweight Champion would be competing in a Royal Rumble?
Yeah. And the previous champion as well, getting mentioned on said Royal Rumble and with his proper name instead of just being referred to as former Fed name.
Yeah. I can't believe, as we're talking right now, like the former Fandango appeared in NXT.
Yes.
As his new name.
Yes.
I can only hope that at one point in NXT we'll see Ash by Elegance and my new favorite personality in wrestling, the Concierge.
Concierge. I was calling for it as a dark horse appearance in the Women's Rumble. Because I kind of had a feeling that with the smoke screen of Jordan Grace saying, yeah, I'm going to be at my mom's birthday.
But she didn't say when she'd be there for her birthday.
Yeah, she didn't say. Well, we know it could have been 9 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden, here we are. She
took a quick flight to Indianapolis, and boom, she's at Lucas Oil.
Yeah.
But, God, could you imagine how awesome it would have been if the Concierge came out? He is like my new favorite personality in wrestling. Yeah, I don't know where they found this guy. He fucking rules.
He's got the pattern down. He's got the character work down. He was definitely a good find.
So with TNA, it's like it took such a long time for them to just. They get the FSN thing like 2 years later.
Yeah.
And then they get on Spike for a decade, but it's like a lot of it is just. Yeah, you got the X Division and such. You get some of the great moments with Angle when he comes in with Joe.
Yeah.
But it's like a lot of it is just really bad stuff like the barbed wire Christmas tree and the reverse battle royal, which we could do an entire episode about the reverse battle royal.
And I think you had the last rites match there too. That's where you pretty much had the entire crowd chanting "Fire Russo."
Yeah, a Black Rain.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I'm just glad that Dustin Rhodes finally got himself cleaned up and.
Yeah, me too. The whole thing with Destination America.
Yeah.
They get like some like cred back because of the whole broken Matt stuff and you're Benjamin and everything and Brother Nero and
name changes as well too, because then we had them dropping TNA, then just going to some Impact, and then I think they had the three.
Global Force merged, yeah.
Yep.
And then I think was that when Jeff was selling us Global Force Gold?
I think so. Yes.
And then
they just kept the Impact name for, and it wasn't until like last year I think they finally decided to go back to TNA and.
Yeah, because I remember when they went back to TNA last year, I'm like, why are they going back to TNA? It's like, but then it's like, well, we're now at the point where like the people who were like kids in the 2000s are like fans and wrestlers now. And like, well, we didn't think of that time as wrestling so fondly. It's like they think of that as a fun time.
It's now to kids today to what's like the 80s was probably like to people like you and me, like in that age.
I think it's like what the new generation is for us, because it's like the new generation WWF, a lot of people didn't like that, but it's like we like that.
Yeah, that was our jam.
And like to them, that era of TNA is like that's when wrestling was good, and I'm like, okay, whatever floats your boat.
Yeah,
so it's like, but it's like now it's. I mean, who would have imagined like now TNA is like on WWE television?
Yeah, and getting random drops. I mean, hell, you got like in Penta's debut there, you got Michael Cole talking that he's like a former TNA champion yet.
Yeah, I'm just so happy for Penta. It's like 40 minutes in the Rumble, he had a great spot. I also love that now the longest person that's ever lasted in a women's Rumble is Roxanne Perez.
Mm-hmm.
which I think was not supposed to be the plan, I think. Because wasn't there... Who else was there for an hour?
Over an hour? Well, you still had... Because you had Eel Sky and Liv Morgan in there for over an
Liv
hour.
was...
They were number 1 and 2.
I think
Liv
was supposed to have the record, but I guess she got eliminated before, and I guess timing things, Roxanne got the record.
Yeah, just the way it timed out is... Because I think Morgan was part of that big 6-woman elimination spot there that Nia Jax did. Because I remember then... Yeah, and of course, and then I see, like... I think after that spot there, because I think I saw some footage from... fan cam shots. You had Raquel Rodriguez and Bianca there crawling to the back, and then you had Naomi getting Liv Morgan in like a headlock and giving her like a noogie walking back to the entrance, and then you have probably the most touching moment. You have Stephanie Vakir, which was a real surprise to me that both her and Julia were in it, and Io Sky both doing like a respectful bow to each other and handshake. So it's like that was just touching that you have like a veteran like Io Sky giving, and like a relatively newcomer in Vakir, like giving proper respect to each other.
So I gotta think, okay, Charlotte is probably gonna wrestle for the SmackDown title, right?
Yeah, that's the way they seem to be building towards.
So I'm guessing the Raw Women's title is gonna be Rhea and Io for the title.
I guess, but then you had Io losing out to Morgan here for the spot, unless they're gonna have like a last chance fatal 4-way whatever for the final Elimination Chamber spot, and Io gets that.
Yeah, I think that's probably what they're gonna do there.
But then, of course, I don't know. And then the other thing is, if like they keep mentioning her, but where is Becky Lynch gonna fit into all of this as well? Like, is she's actually coming back, or is she still?
Yeah, I was expecting Becky was gonna be 30.
But is her appearance in Star Trek Starfleet Academy gonna be that crucial that she's still filming scenes in it? I don't know.
Oh, I forgot she's gonna be in that.
Yeah.
I wish Chico were here. I'd ask, is that a series or a movie like the Section 31 movie?
I think it's supposed to be a new series. It's supposed to be like a limited series or something.
Okay, let me just wiki that store. Because I had like some of the YA books. I might even have like one of the books signed by like Peter David. Because I don't know if you know this, but Peter David like lives like a mile from my house.
Cool.
Yeah. I've never met him, but supposedly he lives about a mile from my house. You see, it doesn't say a list of number of episodes, but apparently it says in the wiki, Becky Lynch is playing a member of a Starfleet bridge crew. And Robert Picardo is going to be back in this as the Doctor.
Cool.
And apparently Paul Giamatti has a recurring role in this.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Holly Hunter's the captain. Damn, this is a pretty good cast they got for this.
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, enough about Starfleet Academy. All right. So that was the first TNA pay-per-view. So what should we go next, Dane? What do you want to cover next time?
Oh, God. I will have to think about that because there's a lot you can talk about. There's a lot we can probably think about doing.
Let's see. It's all right. So we're in the month of February. Is there like a pay-per-view or something in February that we should cover from the past?
Well, since it's February and the month of love, we could always cover St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
That's what we should do. Okay. You know, what says love than Stone Cold and Mr. McMahon in the steel cage match to see who goes to WrestleMania?
Yeah.
And also making the Rock.
Making the Rock.
And then Captain Insano comes in for a run at the end.
Yeah.
But that'll do it for episode 2 of the Squared Circle Time Machine. I'm Greg, and that was Dane. and we'll see you with episode 3 coming real soon. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
All right, we're back here at Shop at Home Network. Don West here with my partner, Eddie Lewis.
We've been selling things like crazy today. It has been a madhouse here. It's Shop at Home.
Certainly has. Hey, Ronnie, what do we got here next?
What do we got here, Ronnie?
Well, folks, if you are a Shaquille O'Neal fan, and you are looking for the ultimate Shaquille O'Neal collectible, then you are looking at an incredible deal.
All right, let me get this straight. Now, this is a Shaq plaque. Is that right?
That is right.
Before we go on, I gotta ask you a question. You got a Shaq plaque here with 8 collectible cards, all mounted in mint condition. Keep in mind on the plaque.
Don, hold on a second here. What is this over here?
I don't know what you're doing over there, Eddie.
Hold on. Is that a poster of Shaq?
Oh, yes, it is.
Wait, that's not included, is it?
It absolutely is.
Hold on, he's flying through the clouds.
You can't include that.
Heck, I am including it.
Now, this was never discussed.
We're giving away way too much here.
Hold on a sec. What's the price on this?
This is $600 value. I'm gonna sell for $99.95.
Well, what? You can't do
Wait
that.
a second. Wait, you're saying the Shaq plaque plus the poster?
Yeah, hold on. He's flying through the air.
flying through the
He's
air.
not on the court.
I know. It's crazy. The man can't fly. It is Shaq, and it's $99.95.
You get out of here,
Get out of here,
Ronnie.
Ronnie.
Get out of here.
Get him out.
You get out. This is a deal we did not want to happen.
It's too late. Folks, you got the number on your screen. 1-800-555-0123. If you're having trouble getting through on the phone, keep trying.
We are so backed up with calls
You're
that...
so bad. Hold on a sec. Wait a second. You can't remove these cards from the plaque.
No, you
okay?
can't. There is no way.
No, you can't remove
There
the
is
cards.
no way you can remove the card.
Hold on here. I just took the card off the plaque.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
You mean you can take the Shaq
Yeah.
cards off the Shaq plaque if you want to?
Yeah, you can take the cards off.
This is too much.
Yeah. The phones are ringing. I can't stop the phones. The cards can come off the
The
plaque.
poster's still here, folks.
Shaq's still in the air. He's flying up there.
Ronnie, how many do we have left?
You're not gonna believe this. You got about 4 left.
Get out of
Get him
here!
out. Get out.
Get him out!
The phones are ringing.
I'm going out of my mind.
I think I'm gonna have a heart attack right here.
Eddie, you're not going to believe this. Kirk Cameron just called, and he even can't get through.
Folks, we're talking Kirk Cameron here. Kirk, I'm having a heart attack.
I'm going out of my mind.
Tell you what, I'm gonna make this all easy on us. I'm gonna shoot myself in the head because I cannot take this madness.
Folks, this is no joke. That gun he's holding, can we get a close-up of this,
Yeah,
Ralph?
can we get that? Yeah.
This is from the Dirty Harry collectible series. It does not fire, but he will find a way to make it work.
Yeah, if Shaq can fly, I will kill myself with this replica gun, which we'll be selling later this half hour. Now, Ronnie, how many plaques do we have left?
We got about 3 left.
You get out!
Get out of here!
Get out of here!
Get him out of here!
The phones are ringing,
Can you
folks!
stop them by chance so I don't have to kill myself
Hey,
here?
I hate to lose you, buddy, but I can't do a
Is
thing.
that flying Shaq? Is he still included?
It's out of my
He's still
control.
included? My head's gonna explode!
This poster's still
He's
included.
still flying in the air! He's still got a
I
ball
know he's
there!
flying.
I didn't-
Just sold the last Shaq plaque.
And they're gone.
And they're gone. Okay.
Okay.
Moving on. What do we have next, Ronnie?
What do we got, Ronnie? Whoa.
We
look
got
at
a limited edition Star Wars Collector's Play series coming up.
that. That's beautiful. That's gorgeous.
Very nice.
How much did that run for?
Well, it's an $800 value.
Yeah.
I'm giving away to $39.95.
What? You can't do that!
Hey,
What? I gotta blow my head off!
swear to
No,
God.
no, that's too good
You
of a
can't
deal.
do that.
Right here.